The crystalline spires of New Singapore glittered in the artificial daylight of Orbital Station Delta, their surfaces reflecting the simulated sun in prismatic patterns. Kira Novak, elite warrior of the Centauri Alliance, stood at the observation deck, her iridescent combat suit catching the light as she watched the latest human transport dock. Her lip curled in barely concealed disdain. The humans had achieved spaceflight barely 2 centuries ago, and yet here they were, claiming equal status with species that had traversed the stars for millennia. The Centauri Alliance had graciously allowed them to establish this trading post, but Kira couldn't understand why. Their technology was primitive, their ships ungainly, and their combat suits looked like they'd been cobbled together from spare parts. A movement caught her eye. Through the transparent aluminum of the observation deck, she spotted a human figure emerging from the transport. The combat suit they wore was unlike anything she'd seen from Earth before, it moved with an almost organic fluidity, despite its bulk. Still, compared to her own sleek, energy-enhanced armor, it looked like a relic. "Interesting specimen you're watching," came a voice behind her. Commander Marcus Vale of the Earth Defense Force stood there, his own combat suit making him tower over her. Close up, she could see the scratches and wear on its surface, the apparent crude welding at its joints. Her neural sensors couldn't even get a proper reading on its capabilities. "Interesting is a generous word," Kira replied, her translator perfectly rendering her sharp tone. "I'm surprised it doesn't fall apart when you walk." Vale's helmet tilted slightly, the gesture somehow conveying amusement despite its featureless facade. "Appearances can be deceiving, Warrior Novak. Would you care to test your assumptions in the training arena?" Kira's bio-enhanced muscles tensed with anticipation. Finally, a chance to prove the superiority of Centauri technology. "I accept your challenge, Commander. Though I hope your medical facilities are as advanced as you claim. You'll need them." The training arena was a massive space, its walls lined with impact-absorbing materials and holographic projectors that could simulate any battlefield environment. Today, it was set to mirror the surface of Mars, red dust swirling in the thin atmosphere, jagged rocks providing cover and tactical advantages for those clever enough to use them. Kira activated her combat systems, her armor illuminating with flowing patterns of energy. Her neural interface connected seamlessly with her weapon systems, allowing her to feel the pulse of her plasma blade as if it were an extension of her own arm. Vale stood opposite her, his bulky suit making no sound despite its apparent weight. It bothered her that she couldn't get a proper scan of his systems. Even primitive technology should register something on her sensors. "Standard training protocols," the arena's AI announced. "Non-lethal force only. Begin in 3, 2, 1. Kira launched forward, her enhanced speed turning her into a blur of motion. She expected Vale to stumble, to be slow to react in his cumbersome armor. Instead, he moved with impossible grace, sidestepping her attack as if he'd known exactly where she would strike. "Impossible," she muttered, spinning to face him. "That armor should be limiting your mobility." "Should it?" Vale's voice carried a hint of amusement. He hadn't even drawn a weapon yet. Fury drove Kira forward again, her plasma blade tracing deadly arcs through the air. Vale caught her blade with his armored forearm, and to her shock, the energy didn't even leave a mark. Her most powerful strikes simply glanced off his suit as if she were attacking with a training weapon. "What is this?" she demanded, backing away to reassess. "This isn't standard human technology." "No," Vale agreed, finally taking up a combat stance. "It's not standard at all." For the first time since the fight began, Kira felt a flicker of uncertainty. The human's armor moved like it was alive, adapting to each of her attacks with fluid precision. Her superior speed meant nothing against an opponent who seemed to anticipate her every move. "You're wondering about the scratches," Vale said, circling her slowly. "The apparent crude construction. Would you believe me if I told you they're deliberately engineered to create that impression?" Kira's eyes narrowed. "You're saying this is all a deception?" Humanity learned long ago that being underestimated is a tactical advantage. While other species focused on making their technology look impressive, we focused on making it work. Vale's armor shifted subtly, plates realigning themselves in a way that defied conventional engineering. Would you like to see what it can really do? As Vale began to demonstrate the true capabilities of his suit, Kira realized she had made a serious miscalculation. The battle was about to teach her that human innovation was far more dangerous than she had imagined. The training arena's holographic environment flickered as another of Kira's plasma strikes dissipated harmlessly against Vale's armor. Red Martian dust swirled around them, creating ghostly patterns in the artificial atmosphere. She had never felt so frustrated, or so intrigued. "You're holding back," Vale observed, deflecting her latest attack with casual ease. "Your combat records show much more, creativity." The fact that he had studied her tactics should have angered her. Instead, it made her more determined to understand what she was facing. "And you're still playing games," she countered, deactivating her plasma blade. "If you want to show off human ingenuity, then stop hiding behind misconceptions." Vale's helmet tilted slightly, considering. "Fair enough." He stepped back, creating distance between them. "You should know that what you're about to see is classified. The Council won't be pleased that I'm revealing this to you." "The Council?" Kira's antenna twitched with interest. "Since when do humans have a unified, governing body?" "Since we realized what we were becoming." Vale reached up to his neck, and the armor began to change. It wasn't the mechanical disassembly Kira had expected. Instead, the surface of the suit rippled like liquid metal, segments flowing and reforming. The helmet retracted first, not in pieces, but as if it were being absorbed into the rest of the suit. Kira's breath caught in her throat. Vale's face was human, but his eyes, they held a subtle glow, and lines of light pulsed beneath his skin in geometric patterns. As more of the armor retracted, she saw that these patterns continued across his entire body, forming complex circuits that seemed to be part of his very being. "What are you?" she whispered, her translator struggling to convey her mix of awe and unease. "The next step in human evolution," Vale replied, his voice now unfiltered by the helmet. "We didn't just build better armor, we became something new. The suit isn't a shell, it's a symbiote. A combination of nanotechnology and bioengineering that bonds with its wearer at the cellular level." Kira's combat sensors were now registering readings that shouldn't have been possible. The energy signatures coming from Vale were unlike anything in the Centauri database. "Your people kept this hidden. All this time, while we thought you were struggling to catch up. We were advancing in ways you never considered," Vale finished. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, it's our adaptability. While other species perfect their existing systems, we transform ourselves to meet new challenges." The implications hit Kira like a physical blow. Every human wearing combat armor could be, like this. An entire species quietly evolving beyond their supposed limitations, all while maintaining a carefully crafted image of technological inferiority. "The scratches on the armor," she said, understanding dawning. "They're not wear and tear. They're camouflage. The whole thing can probably repair itself instantly." Vale smiled, and Kira saw the same geometric patterns briefly flash across his teeth. "Would you like a demonstration?" Without waiting for an answer, he ran his hand across a deep gouge in his arm plating. The material flowed like quicksilver, reforming into pristine condition. "Your entire species." Kira began, then corrected herself. "No, not all of you. This is why you have a council. You're controlling the transformation." "We learn from history," Vale explained, the armor now rippling with subtle patterns that seemed to respond to his emotions. "Every technological revolution has had its dangers. This time, we're taking it slowly, choosing candidates carefully, ensuring we don't lose our humanity in the process of transcending it." A distant alarm blared, breaking the tension of the moment. Vale's expression shifted from educational to alert in an instant. The armor flowed back over his face, but differently now, no longer pretending to be clunky or primitive, it moved with liquid grace, forming a helmet that seemed to grow from his own skin. "That's the perimeter breach alarm," Kira said, her own combat systems coming fully online. "But nothing should be able to penetrate the station's defenses." Unless, Vale's voice had taken on a resonant quality, his armor now glowing with barely contained energy, someone knew exactly where to strike. Someone who's been watching humanity's apparent weakness and decided now was the time to attack. Kira's tactical display lit up with multiple hostile signatures approaching their position. They don't know what they're actually facing. No, Vale agreed, his armor now fully revealed in its true form, sleek and deadly. But they're about to find out. Care to help show them? For the first time since meeting him, Kira felt a genuine smile cross her face. "I thought you'd never ask." She reactivated her plasma blade, taking up position beside him. "Just don't expect me to pretend I'm not impressed anymore." The training arena's doors burst inward as the first wave of attackers arrived, and Kira realized she was about to witness firsthand exactly what humanity had become capable of. The thought sent a thrill of excitement through her that she hadn't felt in years. The attackers poured into the training arena like a dark tide, their armor a deep obsidian that seemed to absorb light. Kira's tactical display identified them as Shade operatives, elite warriors from the Outer Rim who usually worked as mercenaries. But their movements suggested military precision, not mercenary chaos. "They're too coordinated," she called to Vale as they backed into defensive positions. "Someone's been planning this." Agreed. Vale's transformed armor pulsed with energy patterns that mirrored his internal systems. "They're trying to herd us away from the station's central hub. Whatever their real target is, it's not us." A barrage of energy weapons lit up the arena, turning the simulated Martian landscape into a chaos of light and shadow. Vale moved with liquid grace, his armor adapting to each attack, while Kira's enhanced reflexes let her dance between the deadly beams. The station's quantum core, Kira realized, deflecting a blast back at its source. If they breach it, they could collapse the artificial gravity field. Everyone in the civilian sectors. Not happening. Vale's armor shifted, forming what looked like crystalline growths that refracted the enemy fire in multiple directions. "But we need to break through their line." Ideas? Kira analyzed the battlefield, her tactical systems highlighting patterns in the enemy formation. "They're expecting us to fight separately. Human and Centauri combat styles don't usually mesh well. Then let's show them something new." Vale's armor rippled, extending a hand toward her. "Your plasma blade, can you adjust its frequency?" Understanding dawned. "You want to sync our systems? That's never been done before. The energy patterns could be incompatible. Trust me." Vale's voice carried absolute confidence. "My symbiote can adapt to match your weapon's resonance. Together, we can create an energy signature they won't be able to predict." It was crazy. Reckless. Exactly the kind of impossible adaptation that humans seem to specialize in. Kira adjusted her blade's frequency, watching as Vale's armor began to pulse in harmony with its energy field. "Ready?" she asked, falling into position beside him. "Born ready." His armor now gleamed with the same iridescent patterns as her plasma blade. "Let's give them a show." They moved as one. Kira's blade extended into an arc of pure energy, while Vale's armor channeled and amplified its power. The combined effect created a wave of force that scattered the first line of attackers like leaves in a storm. "Impossible," one of the Shade operatives shouted, their voice distorted by their stealth systems. "The human armor can't be this advanced." "You should have done better research," Kira replied, her blade now moving in perfect sync with Vale's movements. Each strike they made enhanced the other's power, creating a deadly dance of light and energy. Vale launched himself into a group of attackers, his armor forming razor-sharp edges that sliced through their defenses. The station's security forces will be here soon. We need to push them back from the core access points. They'll have backup teams in position, Kira warned, her tactical display highlighting multiple approach vectors. This was too well planned to be a single wave. Then we'll need backup of our own. Vale's armor pulsed with a new pattern, and Kira's sensors detected a signal being broadcast on encrypted frequencies. Remember when I said we were controlling the transformation carefully? The arena's secondary doors burst open, revealing a squad of human soldiers. But these weren't ordinary troops, their armor rippled and shifted like veils, each suit uniquely adapted to its wearer. The Shade operatives fell back, clearly unprepared for this level of resistance. The Council's elite guard, Vale explained as the new arrivals moved to surround the enemy forces. We've been preparing for something like this. Kira watched in fascination as the human soldiers demonstrated abilities that should have been impossible. Their armor responded to threats before they happened, adapted to enemy weapons in real time, and worked in perfect coordination with each other. You're not just fighting us, Vale announced to the increasingly desperate attackers. You're fighting human evolution itself. The battle shifted decisively. The Shade operatives found themselves caught between Kira's Centauri combat expertise and the overwhelming adaptability of the enhanced human forces. Their formation broke, discipline giving way to panic. Surrender, Kira called out, her blade humming in harmony with the energy fields around her. You've lost the advantage of surprise, and you're outmatched. But instead of surrendering, the remaining operatives activated some kind of emergency protocol. Their armor began to emit a high-pitched whine that set Kira's teeth on edge. Emergency teleport signatures detected, Vale's armor announced in his voice. They're using band technology to dash. The Shade operatives vanished in flashes of dark energy, leaving behind only scorch marks and questions. They'll be back, Kira said, finally lowering her weapon. This was a test run. They wanted to confirm humanity's true capabilities. Vale nodded, his helmet retracting to reveal a grave expression. Which means we need to figure out who they're working for, and fast. He turned to her, eyes glowing with that strange internal light. Feel like putting aside old prejudices and working together? Kira looked at the human soldiers around them, each one a testament to humanity's incredible potential for growth and adaptation. She thought about how easily she had dismissed them, and how thoroughly they had proven her wrong. You know, she said, a smile playing at her lips, I think I'm starting to understand why your species has survived so long. You never stop surprising people. The command center of Orbital Station Delta hummed with tense activity. Holographic displays showed security sweeps in progress across all sectors, while damage assessment reports scrolled endlessly across multiple screens. Kira stood beside Vale, watching as his enhanced armor interfaced directly with the station's systems, processing data faster than any conventional computer. The attack pattern is familiar, Kira said, her antennae twitching as she studied the tactical replays. It reminds me of something I encountered in the Epsilon sector, near the corporate territories. Vale's armor rippled with thoughtful patterns. Corporate territories. The Megacorps aren't supposed to have military forces. They're not supposed to, Kira agreed, pulling up her own combat records. But 3 cycles ago, I tracked a group of industrial saboteurs to a supposedly abandoned research station. Their equipment had the same energy signature as these Shade operatives. The human commander's eyes glowed brighter as his symbiotic armor processed this information. Cross-referencing with our intelligence networks now. Streams of data reflected off his skin in complex patterns. Got it. The station you investigated was officially owned by Nexus Technologies, but it was actually a front for something called Project Eclipse. Never heard of it, Kira admitted, though her combat instincts were screaming warnings. But if Nexus is involved, this goes deeper than we thought. They're one of the oldest megacorps, with ties to every major species in the Alliance. Vale's armor shifted, forming a more streamlined configuration as he moved to a central console. Which means they'd have access to classified data about human enhancement programs. They could have been watching us for years, waiting for the right moment to. An alarm cut through the air, different from the combat alerts they'd heard earlier. This one pulsed with a low, insistent rhythm that made Kira's skin crawl. Quantum core instability detected, the station's AI announced. Unknown program detected in primary systems. They left something behind, Kira realized, already moving toward the core access corridor. The attack wasn't just a test, it was a distraction. Vale kept pace with her, his armor flowing like liquid metal as they ran. They uploaded a virus during the confusion. But our systems should be able to. Your systems are impressive, Kira cut in, but they're still partly based on standard Alliance protocols. If Nexus has been planning this, they'll have found exploits we haven't even imagined. They reached the quantum core chamber, where streams of energy danced between crystalline pillars in complex patterns. The normal blue-white glow had taken on an ominous purple tinge. The virus is trying to reverse the core's polarity, Vale said, his armor extending tendrils that connected to multiple control interfaces. If it succeeds, the resulting quantum cascade will tear this station apart. Kira accessed her own enhancement systems, linking them to the station's network. Standard containment protocols aren't working. Whatever this thing is, it's learning and adapting almost as fast as your armor. Almost, Vale repeated, a hint of a smile crossing his face. But not quite. His armor began to pulse with new patterns, ones that seemed to flow in impossible directions. The virus is advanced, but it's still just a program. My symbiote is alive, constantly evolving. If I can interface directly with the core. That's suicide, Kira protested, grabbing his arm. The energy levels would overwhelm even your enhanced systems. Not if I had help. Vale turned to her, his eyes glowing with determination. Your Centauri combat systems, they're designed to channel and redirect energy, right? Understanding dawned. You want to use my enhancements as a buffer, filtering the core's output through my systems before it reaches yours. That's crazy. Impossible. Sounds like standard human innovation to me. Despite the crisis, Vale managed a grin. What do you say, partner? Ready to trust a primitive species with your life? The quantum core's vibrations were reaching critical levels. They had seconds to decide. Kira looked at Vale, at the impossible blend of biology and technology that he represented, and made her choice. You're many things, Commander, she said, activating her full combat enhancement suite, but primitive isn't one of them. Let's do this. Their systems linked together, creating a hybrid network of human and Centauri technology. Vale's armor extended to connect with the quantum core while Kira's energy field expanded to encompass them both. The virus fought back, trying to overwhelm their defenses, but it couldn't match their combined adaptability. It's working, Vale announced, his voice strained but triumphant. The virus can't cope with our hybrid system. It's trying to adapt, but every time it develops a new strategy. We're already 3 steps ahead, Kira finished, watching as their combined efforts systematically dismantled the hostile program. Because we're not just running protocols, we're thinking, changing, evolving in real time. The quantum core's purple tinge faded, returning to its normal color as the last traces of the virus were eliminated. Vale disconnected from the systems, his armor rippling as it re-established its standard configuration. We did it, he said, turning to Kira with newfound respect. Together. Yes, she agreed, deactivating her combat systems but maintaining the neural link they'd established. And I think I finally understand what makes humans so special. It's not just your technology or your adaptability. It's your willingness to take risks, to try things that shouldn't be possible. The question is, Vale said, his expression turning serious, what do we do about the people who tried to destroy this station? Nexus won't stop with one attempt. Kira's antennae twitched with determination. Then we'll be ready for them. Human innovation, Centauri precision, together, will show them what real evolution looks like. The Nexus Technologies headquarters floated in high orbit around Jupiter, its crystalline spires reflecting the gas giant's eternal storms. For centuries, it had been considered untouchable, a sovereign corporate territory that even the Centauri Alliance couldn't breach. But then again, they'd never tried attacking it with a human-Centauri hybrid combat team. Security networks breached, Vale announced, his enhanced armor now seamlessly integrated with Kira's combat systems. They moved through the station's maintenance corridors like living shadows, their combined stealth capabilities rendering them nearly invisible. They still think their virus damaged our systems. They have no idea we traced it back to them. Overconfidence, Kira replied, her antennae detecting subtle changes in the air currents. The same overconfidence that made me underestimate humans. It will be their downfall. Their intelligence gathering over the past week had revealed an operation far more sinister than simple corporate espionage. Nexus hadn't just been studying human enhancement technology, they'd been trying to weaponize it, to create their own version that they could control and sell to the highest bidder. We're approaching the main research level, Vale whispered, his armor adapting to match the local electromagnetic frequencies. According to the plans we recovered, Project Eclipse's core facility should be. An alarm blared, but not the one they expected. This sound was deeper, more primal, setting off warning signals in both their enhancement systems. That's not a security alert, Kira said, her tactical display filling with anomalous readings. That's a containment breach. The corridor ahead of them warped, metal and composite materials twisting as if being pulled by an invisible force. A figure emerged from the distortion, humanoid, but wrong in ways that set off every survival instinct they possessed. "Ah, our expected guests," the figure said, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies at once. "Come to witness the next stage of evolution." Vale's armor pulsed with recognition. "Director Chen. Or what's left of you." The thing that had been Director Chen of Nexus Technologies smiled, its face rippling like mercury. "We couldn't perfect the symbiotic integration you humans achieved. So we took a different approach. Forced evolution through quantum manipulation. The results have been fascinating." "You're insane," Kira breathed, watching as more twisted figures emerged from side corridors. "You're trying to force evolutionary leaps without understanding the consequences." "Understanding?" Chen laughed, the sound distorting reality around them. "We understand perfectly. Humanity's careful, controlled approach is too slow. The market demands results. We're simply accelerating the process." Vale's armor shifted, forming new configurations they developed during their training together. By creating abominations. By risking the fabric of space-time itself. "Progress requires sacrifice," Chen said, his form continuing to shift and change. "Allow me to demonstrate." The attack came from all directions at once. Chen and his transformed followers moved like glitches in reality, their bodies ignoring the normal laws of physics. But Vale and Kira were ready. Their hybrid combat style had evolved beyond simple cooperation. Vale's adaptive armor flowed in perfect sync with Kira's energy manipulation, creating defensive patterns that caught and redirected the quantum-warped attacks. Where Chen's forces were chaotic and unstable, their movements were precise and controlled. "You see," Chen called out as the battle intensified. "Such potential. Imagine armies of enhanced soldiers, each one capable of rewriting the laws of reality." "That's not evolution," Vale responded, his armor forming impossible geometries that matched and contained Chen's distortions. "That's extinction." Kira's combat systems integrated with Vale's defenses, creating a field of stable space around them. "True evolution isn't about forcing change," she added, her energy blade cutting through the quantum interference. "It's about growing, adapting, finding balance." "Balance?" Chen snarled, his form becoming increasingly unstable. "Balance is stagnation. We're breaking the chains of natural law itself. No, Vale said quietly, his armor pulsing with new patterns. You're breaking yourself. The evidence was clear in their tactical displays. Chen and his followers were literally coming apart, their forced transformations causing cascading failures in their molecular structure. The more they pushed their artificial evolution, the faster they deteriorated. It's not too late, Kira called out, genuine concern in her voice. We can help you stabilize, find a way to reverse the process. Reverse? Chen laughed again, but now there was a desperate edge to it. Why would we want to go backward? We're ascending. His voice distorted, his body beginning to emit quantum radiation at dangerous levels. The containment systems are failing, Vale's armor reported. This whole section is going to collapse into a quantum singularity. Kira linked her systems more deeply with his. We can contain it. Together. Like we did with the core. They moved as one, their combined technologies creating a bubble of stable spacetime around the deteriorating forms of Chen and his followers. It was like trying to hold back a tide of chaos with pure willpower, but their hybrid systems proved equal to the task. This is real evolution, Vale said as they worked. Different species, different approaches, coming together to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The quantum storm raged and then subsided, leaving behind nothing of Chen or his twisted experiments. In the aftermath, as station security and alliance forces secured the facility, Kira turned to Vale. You knew, didn't you? She asked. When you first showed me your true capabilities. You knew it would lead to this. Vale's armor settled into its natural state, no longer hiding its true nature. I knew we needed to start trusting each other. Humans, Centauri, all species. Real progress doesn't come from competition or forced advancement. It comes from cooperation, from sharing our strengths and learning from our differences. Kira smiled, her combat systems still harmonizing perfectly with his. Then I suppose this partnership isn't just about stopping Nexus, is it? It's about showing everyone a better way forward. Evolution, Vale agreed, is full of surprises. As they looked out at Jupiter's swirling storms, Kira reflected on how far they'd come from her initial dismissal of human technology. She had learned that true advancement wasn't about power or superiority. It was about growth, understanding, and the courage to reach across boundaries that once seemed impossible to cross. The future would bring new challenges, new threats to face. But now they would face them together, proof that the greatest evolution of all was learning to see beyond your own prejudices and embrace the unknown.